last video, I received a lot of questions about primarily the machine, but also as to why we tile, how we tile, etc. So I thought as the machine warms up here, we could talk about the machine and why we're doing what we're doing. First of all, this is a spiker made by the Spiker Brothers. This particular machine is a 6060. You can see right down there on the side. There's the tag for it, stamped in, Spiker Brothers model 6060. And I did do a complete video on this a few videos back, so you can check that out. Prior to this machine was a 600, and after this machine was a 7060, which had a few revisions on them, but generally speaking, the same machine. This is a 318 industrial Chrysler gasoline engine. They also had a 453 Detroit diesel option. Actually, the gas was the more powerful of the two at the time era. Now later on, they did improve that. So for anybody that's curious, this is a trencher. I mean, this lays in drainage tile. You have an engine, your wheels, powered unit. You have a winch on the front in case you get stuck. And back here you have your digging wheel. Yes, a wheel. This is a wheel trencher, which is a giant wheel with buckets. It rotates this way, which the buckets go down. You can never cut dirt, you can always lift dirt. So the buckets lift dirt, and whatever sticks inside the bucket is what gets carried around. And there's a piece of tin there to kind of line it, so it sticks between that piece of tin, it goes up, and it dumps it on the conveyor belt. Now that piece right there sticking up is a trip cleaner. Some guys call them a stinger. That knocks any of the sticky soil out of the bucket. The conveyor belt on this, you can shift that way or this way, vary the speed. Then you have on the back end of this machine what they call a shoe. And the shoe is a big piece of steel. It goes down, curves kind of around the wheel a little bit to cup it, and it goes all the way back there. And it's got a rounded bottom on it. A lot of guys will tie them a tile shoe, boot, whatever you want to call it. But that's where your tile feeds through. And the owner of this machine made a reel for minis, which we're using for the 4-inch seat. This is a mini roll tile. 250 feet in this roll. A maxi roll, which would be on a separate trailer, would hold about 3,000 feet. Then back here we have this little contraption, which just has an over-centered lever that just shaves the side walls of the trench and puts a little bit of dirt on the tile to keep it in the center, because there is a little bit of a groove. Now a lot of guys are asking, how's this thing keep on grade? Well, these two cables here are nothing more than to tilt the wheel up like this once it's out of the ground. You actually run those and float. What keeps the grade is that cylinder right there, and that's attached to cables, which hooks onto the head section of the wheel. So it just pulls the wheel up and down like this. Because it is a wheel, round, as you pull the front up, it just rotates so it always stays the ground. So wherever this shoe's at is what it goes at. So if you want to dig down, you pretty simple concept once you see it in action. But grade cylinder, and these other two are lift cylinders. This machine will run 6 feet deep, maybe a touch over 6 feet deep. Now around here we run a lot of tile in pretty deep, and you can see the pretty wide trench there. And the reason we're running a wide trench, and by the way, this cuts the same width as the Hydromax we have, but the reason we're running this is because when we ran this line, I had to do 2 junctions down here, dug them at the backhoe, came up here, hit a existing clay. In this soil, you do not leave an existing line. This will either cause a blowhole or a suck hole, meaning that water coming down will blow a hole up out of the ground, or it can cause a vacuum effect and suck a hole in the ground. So anything that you encounter and hit, you got to hook up. So what we do is we try to go deeper an existing tile, or an existing tile that you know about. Try to go deeper. Anything you hit will be up here in the sidewall, then we can just connect into it and actually usually bring a hose or a tile down into the new system that we're putting in, which is what we did here. Anything that's deeper than where we're going, you'll be going over, and hopefully if you're in the right area, you just don't hit anything. But this ground's been tiled many times previous. Now this particular farm here is the Homestead Farm, where my grandfather actually tiled some of this with a spade. So having that cutting width of 22 inches, which is about right for a wheel, it allows you to go up to 15-inch tile main through on this thing. Probably could run an 18 in there, but anyway, you can get down in the trench and you can do your work, including setting intakes, which, I mean, you got 2 intakes just right here in this little short little jaunt. And yeah, there is a terrace there, but that comes out, that just goes over here and spurs off. We're actually going to be running an all new terrace, and it's going to be going clear back 3 times farther than this old spur line terrace. So we're running an all new system out here, improving all the farms that have been put together over a series of years. So here on the right side of the machine, you have your control valves and your tandems. So you got your tandems are on this, and then when you're out in the field like this, you're running floats so they can oscillate. And there is a cylinder there, so you get in the mud hole or something, the front one starts diving, you can pull it up. Then you got your lift and your grades, conveyor belt. This is pulls in a clutch, and this is your manual clutch. Literally, it's just a foot clutch like a car. This is your manual clutch, and it pulls pretty hard. And then this will be your hydrostatic drive, which this machine was never factory hydro. It's been added, but it's also what makes the machine work very well. And over there, you got a gear shift, which runs this transmission right here. That goes in, runs up, runs hydro. And you can see the other output shaft once the gauge goes back here and runs the digging wheel with 2 120 roller chains. Our ground is very, very dry. We've only had 15 inches of rain all year. Our normal's like 36 inches. Here's another day where the skies are blue and nothing really developed. Sprinkles at most, which went around us. So the ground's just chunks. And it's digging very, very difficult. But it's a good opportunity time to get this done because I've got time right now. And up here we got our gauges, and we got this fan right here. Cools our hydraulics, goes down, fuel tank. It's a fairly crude machine, but it's a good solid machine. And the good thing about it is it digs every bit as good as what I had for a Hydromax dug, but it's a paid for machine, which means I don't have to worry about writing a check for it periodically. Now this thing, this is not mine. This is a rental company, and if you want a good rental company that will take care of their customers, right here, they seem to be quite friendly. This is a, here's the model, Cato, not even sure how you pronounce it. This machine's almost new. We got it here for whatever amount of time we need it. Air conditioned cab, very nice machine. I do think it could use a little bit more dig power, and I would run a little different 2 system for what we're doing right now, but I'm not complaining either. I think they could run a little bigger cylinder out here, or possibly the cutting edge of the bucket should be a little farther back, which will give you a little more mechanical power. But then again, the grounds, as I said, is very, very tight. Backfill blade, backfill's awesome. We'll show more of that as the video continues. This is a bit of a Brand X machine. Foreign something. I don't know much about them. The interior's pretty simple. I'll get up in here and I'll show you a little better picture of what it looks like. But vinyl seat, which gets very hot in the sun. And it's got 300 hours in this machine right now. You can see the hour meter. 2 gauges. You got air conditioning unit, which is just steel. It's quite crude. You got some controls back here and a radio. And a little plastic storage compartment. It's not bad by any means. You can open the windows. It does have a dome line. I mean, they tried to make it compared to like a cat or something that's pretty crude, it's got the same controls that you're all buying these from somebody. But pretty nice little machine. I think, as I said, it's a little crude compared to a cat, but you know, if you were 50,000 less,
it's a bipartisan bill, Republican Senator.
It'd be definitely worth buying. Only thing that kind of drives you nuts, you got to turn the air conditioner back on every single time you restart their engine. We're going to let this warm up, and we're going to go over this old terrace, get down there and fix a couple little spots. All terraces, there's like 2 or 3 in here that are actually going to be coming out. The old ones, these old ones here will stay in, but then the new ones will wrap all the way around to the location I showed in the last video. You guys will see that system going in on this video or the next one as well. But we'll be able to farm this a lot better once that's all in. Eventually, yes, I would like to remove these bottom ones and incorporate them as well, but because of the layout of the ground, here up is a real pain in the butt, and it's causing a lot of erosion. Here down it's not. Now, anybody that's kind of new to this channel really wonders, why do we even terrace and tile? I mean, what's the point of it? It's erosion control and farmability. Without terraces, your ground, or our ground here with our soil type, erodes heavily. They're dam structures to slow erosion, and they also kind of condition and follow land topography. So it's the difference between farming up down between mountain ranges and ditches and gentle sloping soil around structures. And the tile carries the water away and carries excess water away during wet years. This uses new process, 435 transmissions. You normally dig with that in third. It's running back there, so there's your wheel at normal speed. We're digging some really hard digging conditions. It's working it. Only runs about 2,500. But it is chewing through it. Adjust the hydro down here just a little bit. There's your buckets at normal speed there. We're running about 5 feet deep, 4.5, 5 feet. There's a seed line here. Now, one of the reasons we run deep up around these intakes is because we're going to go under the terrace, we're going to cut off. So if you say you're 6 to 6.5 feet deep, or like if you're running the new Hydromax is 7, that line maybe only be 3 feet deep when you get done building the terrace. It's just all part of engineering and stuff you need to watch. Right now, we're digging these cables here. They don't look like it, but they're actually afloat. They're relaxed. I can show you this. So there's no tension on those. Now this one here would be our grade, which is that cylinder there, as I showed earlier. I'll just bump it here because we got plenty of slope to work with. You can see we got a grade gauge there. Now, again, 6% slope or whatever we're working right now. I don't need a laser system. If we were to be in a location where we're flat, this needs a laser grade system. Probably could set it up with GPS. I don't know how well these older machines would respond to something like that. I just don't know how to plumb it. But needs some form of grading control. They got that operator station up close and personal with your spoil pile and everything, kind of a pain in the ass. But down here you can see what's going on. There's our pipe. You can see a very clean bottom trench there if you zoom in, how perfectly neat and clean that is. And you can see how these are scraping the wall. And just letting a little bit sit on top of the pipe. Those are called your crumbers. And a wheel down there, it's just putting weight on it. Keeping everything right dead center. Spooling herself off as we go. Looks pretty good. You know, I got some big boy pipe going on here. This is a 12-inch piece of PVC. This is about 20 foot long, I'd imagine. Maybe 25. Goes down, there's either T or possibly just an elbow, I'm not sure yet. But somewhere down there, there's a T or an elbow, and I was unable to find it because I didn't have a spade last night. But we did dig down about 10 feet deep to only find more pipe going down to the ground. So very, very long. This dam here, this was originally pasture. This is a really steep old hill. Gets better up above it. But anyway, this was a catch-all for a pasture. This was creating what I call a horseshoe out of the ditch, which is where it just erodes back in and the ditch keeps eating up the hill. And it worked well. The problem is this is where our outlet needs to go. So we really need to be able to tie into this, which ejects through the backside of this dam. And then we can terrace and tile everything above it. And that'll incorporate all those fields that we've been working on. And we drug down an 8 here. This is it's gonna be 7 intakes hooked on this. So we should be okay with this 8-inch tile. Here, no more acres and they're gonna be running off into it. But we gotta be able to find this and get hooked into, and then we can tee off and come up around for an intake. And we'll go up here with the main, and there'll be another main that goes that way. This old terrace here, what I'm doing is digging the old intake out. It gets moved up the hill. And you can see this terrace here just kind of goes right into here and dead ends. And right down the end there's the stringer trailer, and right over the hill from the stringer trailer is where the trencher's sitting in the big intake where you guys just saw. And these are a mess of an old system. They usually drown the crop out here. You got no weed control. I mean, there's even a rut leading down into it. And they just end out here. And that's because the property lines were there, and this was hog pasture at one time back in like the 1940s. Just a mess. And you heard that right. Hogs in a pasture, yes. But then we'll move the intake, which actually there's not one. There's one over there. We'll move that up. So this terrace here will come out. This one right behind me here I just showed you will come out. And then the new one will actually come in around like this. And you can kind of see the flags and curves. It goes back, goes above that part back there where we're tiling right over the hill. And all these will flow in together. Be one continuous terrace. Needing that extra, it's kind of like a 40 and a 40 if you're putting 2 farms together instead of one giant mess that was attempted to be terrace and tile at one time. So we got to move this intake up, and this terrace here will be ready for removal. And we'll rebuild it up here once the crop comes out. We're just trying to do the absolute minimum crop disturbance right now, which there isn't much here because of the rut.